Hey folks, and welcome to another Chewy development live stream. For those of you who don't know, we're building the Chewy Stack, and that is a framework that does a lot more than a traditional sort of full stack framework. We help you manage environments and provision infrastructure and all kinds of stuff like that to make it easier and faster to build digital products, to build apps, web apps, mobile apps, whatever. We're starting with web apps though. So, what are we doing today? So yesterday, um, I kind of did this long stream about just like, it was just me trying to figure out the dependency graph, like how the different parts of the system work together. I think I figured something out like towards the end of the stream and also like later last night, this morning. And so I'm going to share my screen here and some of the stuff I've been trying to figure out. And so I think a way to make this make sense is that like maybe there's different types of environments, and a component by default, if it is linked to, if an application component, and under here I'm going to say application components actually include service and source components. If they reference an infrastructure component, by default, it will add the infrastructure component for the current environment as a dependency. But you can also specify an infrastructure component's like its environment. So you could say that you want to build like you want to deploy a given application service to let's say, I don't know, you've got like your maybe like a global Kubernetes cluster, and you plan on running both staging and production on this cluster. You could have an environment called global, and you could have a global Kates, and this one would depend on that. And you could have a QA or staging or whatever. Let's just say prod, staging, I don't know, whatever other environments you want. Why is this? I want this. Sorry, I just really want this to, yeah, there we go. Other. And by default, if you do not specify a dependency, it is going to look to, it is going to create a dependency on, or like it's going to create like a prod cluster if you try to deploy prod to Kates. It's going to say, well, we're deploying a production service, and we did not no env specified. So then this would go to prod, but if, I'm just going to duplicate the page. But if you specified that you want to run on env global, then it will run it on global. And then you could do this where you say, yep, this is env global. And so it's going to run all this stuff on the global, in the global Kubernetes cluster. I think that kind of makes sense. Like, I mean, my instinct would be to, you know, to split these up, but there are use cases for running multiple environments on one sort of infrastructure. So I think that kind of makes sense. I think, not entirely sure. Now, like figuring out how to like model this and like the configurations. Uh, yeah, because like there's a thing about this too, which I think we need to have a way to specify that this is a like infra and I'm not gonna have like a global. I definitely don't think we should allow global services. I think if you're going to like the application components, those need to be they essentially they like the app components make up an app, and so they should be the same across all of your environments. Like they you shouldn't not have auth and staging, but yes have auth in production. That doesn't make sense. But you might want to run both staging and prod in one cluster. So essentially, I think what we do is you could say like, oh yeah, if a component specifies a dependency on an infrastructure dependency with a specific environment, that environment A has to be an infra environment. So you're not accidentally like deploying staging to production when you didn't intend to have like a shared infrastructure. Yeah, something along those lines, I think makes sense. So, and then so if it has that dependency on any component, infra component that has a global that is sort of tagged as that is tagged as an infrastructure environment, then everything in that infrastructure environment needs to be deployed first before building the dependency graph for anything else. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. And then any environment tagged as infra cannot be used for application components. Like an application component should never be tagged as whatever, if this was called super cool env. Now, if it's tagged as infra, none of the app components should be able to specify that they deploy, or it should never be deployable to super cool. I think this makes sense to me. I think this makes sense. Okay, so global. Now let's figure out how to make this all work in code. I feel like this is going to be long and complicated, but hopefully we can make it work. Alrighty. Is that kind of what I wrote in the notes? Each info component specifies as config. No, I don't think that's necessary actually. So if I wrote it down, maybe it is on some level. Okay. Each service source component specifies which infra components by env as well. So if you specify by environment, we go pick that specific one. If not, we get it from your current environment. Maybe there's special. Hey, yep. Not A, or special environments that only deploy infra. I can't think of the use case, but I'm sure there is one. So yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. All right. Cool. All right, let's figure this out. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is in the environment schema. Oh, you know what we should do? Just for flexibility's sake, we should say that this should have a type said Zod values uh, structure and optional type, infrastructure optional. Uh, yeah, I think that makes sense. So this gives us the flexibility to specify different types of environments and okay, so we can have infrastructure environments or default environments, which are just do everything. I guess we could do like an environment that explicitly excludes infrastructure. So it could be like an application environment. Hmm. Like that gets it's a little weird. I don't know, maybe. Well, I guess we'll find out. Okay, so optional. Do do do. Yep. All right. So that's what we and then okay, so we've got this concept of links. For anyone who has not watched yet, which is probably anyone who is watching, we have this thing called links in Chewy. And so a component specifies its dependencies, and the system or the individual installs those dependencies. But then to mark a given component, an installed component, as satisfying a dependency, we use the system called links. So last time, let me just check something. With last time, I think this was, yeah, so from 18 hours ago, we added environments to the links. The link. Why did I set it up to do multiple environments? I think it should just be environment, and it should be, oh god. I wish, well, maybe I'll have to go rewatch that stream so I can figure out what I was thinking. Um, I think it should just specify an environment, like either, yeah, yeah. Okay, so if we specify environments, then it wouldn't make a link. No, because if it's satisfying a dependency, it always needs to exist. So there's not going to be like environments where you don't. Yeah, no, okay. Clearly, I did a bad job on that one. Because you're always going to need to satisfy the dependencies. So environment should always be specified. I guess this default to like all is kind of, yeah, you shouldn't have an array. Why should you have an array? Uh, let's say you're deploying Hasura to Kubernetes, uh, to a Kubernetes cluster. Mm, yeah, so I don't think that there's going to be situations where you shouldn't be able to specify that like some environment. Yeah, no, no, no. Oh, I think I remember. Okay. With the idea that like I feel like it was something along the lines of, what if you need to specify a different environment per. No, but then you could create different links. Yeah, so we should throw an error when building the dependency graph if there's a point where you're trying to satisfy dependency and you don't for a given environment. So you could have multiple links. Uh, yeah, yeah. Oh, maybe it's like something like source environment and target environment. No. I feel like that gets really weird and messy. Like maybe you want to specify that production should be deployed to a production cluster, but everything else should be deployed to, like, I don't know, dev cluster, something like that. And so you want to say for a given components environment, the target should be X, Y, or Z. And then, yeah, you want, uh, that sounds so complicated. Ooh. Uh, I'm going to say, we can have source environment. Defaults to star target environment. Target environment should always be, yeah, so this should just be a string. And it should be optional. Target environment. Source environments. If you don't specify a source environment, then for every environment, we target. So let's say dev and staging will always target or like dev and QA always target the dev cluster. But then you could create a second link that says that anything less specific, or no, maybe, no, you should probably be more, anyway, like something along the lines of production always targets the production cluster. Source environment, unique. I think that works. Name, type, role. Probably don't need repository and unique. Forget why I brought those in, because essentially these three, they sort of ID the dependency. Oh man, it's getting a little complicated. I guess that's kind of the point. Is it's complicated, and so this tool Chewy should make it easier for other people to deal with it. Okay, that's the goal, right? Okay. So I think between those two, environment definition schema. If I go, okay, yeah, so environment definition schema, a schema, an environment can be marked as infrastructure or not. If it is only infrastructure, then it will only If it is marked as infrastructure, it will only deploy infrastructure components. And then the links, by default, we just build a dependency graph based off of the current environment, but a link should be able to specify the source, so the current environment, and what it targets. So if we match dev to global, for example, then we need to make sure that the global, oh man, that's so complicated. That's so hard to hold on to in my brain. Yeah, then we need to make sure that anything from that environment is already deployed. Should have rules in place that any infra, as we run through the graph, any infrastructure environments get deployed first. Okay, I think that works. I think that works, right? Yeah. 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 Fine. I guess. Optional. Those are optional. This is optional. Cool. So everything we have should work already. And then, okay, so here can rm rf demo. And let's save this or commit this. Wait, that's that. Environment, yeah. Get dependency graph. What do we change here? Oh yeah, the comments. We changed the comments. Okay. Get rid of that actually. Get status. Start building out, I don't know. Okay. 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 I think that makes sense. Alrighty. Yeah, that's okay. I think in theory, let's see. Chewy. Yeah, we're on the local one. So that. I think that will build things the way they should be. Ruh-roh. Okay. Link components. Yeah. Oh no. What was it? Source environment. String target. Oh no, because source. Yeah. make sense. String array. And its environment. It's optional, right? I don't know. Okay. Change something? Oh, yeah. It's git commit. To work with. Does it make sense? Hopefully. I think just bumped into my microphone because life is hard, friends. Should go snowboarding. I want to go snowboarding. Can see the mountains. They're calling to me. Okay, what's wrong here? Environment is declared, but yeah, but that's okay. Just leave me alone for a second. Okay. Well, I guess we have to fix this. Well, we don't have to, but I guess we might as well. Environment dev. Yeah, fair. Okay. Okay, component list. Wait, where's the... Oh, yeah. Dependency graph. So this is, well, this is where we build the... Oh. Is this... Yeah, for each node, provide the links. Okay, for a given environment, we should get that environment. Environment. Project config equals get project config. Cool. Equal to environment to project config. Oh, wait, but something's missing here. Project schema. Do I have a separate? Oh, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. All right, is that what I want? Type get environment file, read file sync, parse environment. Oh, wait, what? Read file sync load. Environment definition schema. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot that each environment has its own file. Okay, that was just trust myself. Just gotta trust myself. Okay. Environment definition. Like there's so many moving parts. I'm trying to document things to some extent, but it's hard to keep track. Okay. Okay. So environment definition. Type infrastructure. Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay. Okay. The dependency graph. I think something is like a little mixed up here because we had should deploy. I feel like some of the stuff I put in here should be moved out. Build deployment priorities. I think this is actually more like part of building the graph. So there's this weird thing that happens. You know, like open my browser and share this graph. Give me 2 seconds. Dependency graph. Maybe someone else can help me out with this. So share screen tab dependency graph share. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we're using this dependency graph library. And the thing that happens is if multiple things, I wonder if there's a way to like unique. So what's happening that's a problem, the reason I set this thing up called the deployment priority is that wait, does that matter? There was a weird thing happening. Does it matter though? So essentially what was happening is, oh yeah, you can't see my screen. Okay, so this graph, if you've got multiple components that specify a dependency on another component, and this is by ID, so it's like the specific instance of the thing, not like the repo of the thing. Then what happens, and the is that it gets sort of deployed multiple times by default because this dependency graph can't, it marks like the dependence. So I'm just going to walk through an example. Let's share my other tab. This one. Okay. So if we've got a component, let's say service 1 and service 2, and maybe service 3. Now, if we have an infrastructure component, that is that both of service 2 and service 3 depend on. So infra. So let's say all of these depend on these things. So service 2 depends on infra. Service 3 depends on service 2. But service 3 also Oops. Service 3 also depends on infra. What is going on here? Service 3 also depends on infra. It refuses to depend on infra. So the thing that gets messed up here is because we've got these multiple dependencies, what happens is the graph that gets built out, if we're using it to determine when a task should happen, which is how like this thing, whoops. So if we look at the dependency graph tab, like it says task or determining the order to do a list of things. But each thing in this graph has an ID. So the way that my brain conceptualizes this is like, okay, if a thing is unique, if you give it an ID, then it should only happen once. That's the way my brain interprets that, is like there's an order and these things have IDs, and if multiple things have a dependency, we need to figure out when to make it happen. If service 3 depends on infra and service 2 depends on infra, there's this weird thing that happens where, because of these two dependencies here tied to, so like it says, oh yeah, we should run the deployment for infra, and as the dependents of infra are service 2 and service 3. So it's like, okay, next we should deploy service 3, and then we should deploy service 2, and then we should deploy service 3 again. And so it does these like double deployments that are really annoying. And in my mind, if there's two dependencies like this, or two dependents, as long as this gets done before this, and you can see that it exists further down the tree, then you should not do it twice. Like, just do it the one time. Just like make it unique. Just figure out, like, to me, the dependency graph should figure out that a thing only exists that should only run once. That's how I would have expected this this library to work, but I guess it doesn't. Actually, but yeah, if I unique, no. Dependency remove dependency clone. Dependencies of dependence of leaves only. Direct dependencies, get an array. Direct dependent. Entry nodes. So we want the leaves to start. So just as an example, like what was happening, we'll be a bit more concrete here, was that we had the dev host being set up, and then we had Hasura being deployed, and Hasura, the database for Hasura being deployed at the same time. Well, not at the well, kind of at the same time. So the Hasura, so dev host was being deployed, and then Hasura was being deployed. No, the Hasura database was being deployed. and then Hasura was being deployed, and then the Hasura database was being deployed again. And it's unique, so it's not like it was creating multiple things, but it was running the deployment process twice, and then, that took a lot of time. Well, a lot. It took some time, and it needed to sort of identify, oh no, this has already been deployed. And I think it sort of did a diff and was like, actually, this is the same, so no need to redeploy. It's yeah. So on some level, we need to fix the graph to say if something exists further down the tree, then remove its dependence on, like, remove this relationship if it exists further down the tree. Which is kind of what we're doing already. But we're doing it in deploy, and I'm just realizing that it should probably be in graph. Like, the deployment function shouldn't care about what is deploy component environment. Yeah, the deploy function shouldn't care what's coming from the graph. It should just execute against it. Okay. Yeah. Like all of this stuff. Ah, shoot. That's going to be a pain. I don't want to deal with it. Okay. I guess I got... Oh, wait. Have I... I've just been like ranting about the code while not showing you the code. Great. Yeah. Yep. So, is that a better layout? I feel like you could probably see the code slightly better, except my face is in front of some of it. Okay. I'm gonna actually start writing code. So I like Copilot. So I'm gonna install Copilot. For those who aren't aware, I'm using Gitpod, and so I have to reinstall Copilot every time I set it up. My license stays like saved, so that's cool, but just need to actually hit install. Though I have been a little frustrated by Gitpod's latest pricing changes. It's a good thing. I like usage-based billing. I just think they've made it weird to figure out how you move from the previous sort of Teams model to the current Teams model. It's not clear how much we will have to pay. Maybe it's just the wording that needs to be fixed. Okay. Environment definition, get environment, get dependency. Yeah, okay. Oh, you know what? I might as well. I was gonna... Yeah. This, I've been talking about renaming this. Actually gonna do it. Yes. Yeah. And cool. Okay. So break some stuff. I don't think there's any other... Oh no, level does matter just for our fun little lines here, but for anything else, should deploy priority is equal to level. That we should be able to get rid of. If we're running it, it's because we're deploying it. Whoops. priority. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Errors showing up. Okay. And then we can move these out. Just a little bit more. This. Come back to our build dependency graph. Let's see, maybe down here. Get that as well. I'm realizing it is 1:30. That's about the time I was going to do this, so I'm gonna wrap it up in a second here. But I think it's a good start. Whoops, no, I'm gonna put that over here. I think this is a good start. Leaf nodes. Leaf nodes. Build deployment priorities. All right, so here we build the deployment priorities. And if ow, I just realized I did something silly. Wait, did I? Yeah, it was Hasra that was building twice, not the, sorry, it was, I mean, this is a random thing to just realize, but yeah, it was Hasra that was building twice, not the database, because Hasra depends on the database and the dev host. Come on, brain. It's a really random thing to just like swirl into my brain. Okay. So this is probably not the most efficient way to do this, but somehow I doubt Copilot will get this, but make sure each shows up in the order. Just gonna see what happens here. I don't think this makes any sense, but I've got overall order. Oh, you know what? My goodness. That might be my problem. Yo. Is that actually the thing that, oh my God. Overall order, that's going to be a string, right? Yeah, I'm just going to Man, if that is that actually what's happening here? Yeah, I think that's actually. I was ranting about the thing doing the thing wrong, but I think I was using the thing wrong. So I was using just the leaves. Yeah, this is my bad. Probably. Okay. The overall order is probably. Ah, man. Okay, let's see what happens if we do. I am going to comment out a lot of this stuff. Components stuff. Graph node add component up for each. Links. Add dependency. Deployment priorities. Yeah, this is our new stuff. Comment all that out. Oh man. No. For now, I'm just gonna spit that out and see what happens. Rough overall order. Test this. So please. We still need to fix the dependency graph to use the environment, but ooh, I need to go. But yeah, hopefully I can figure this out soon. All right. Thanks for watching, anyone. Hopefully we'll have a working dependency graph soon. Bye.